Imagine a world where AI doesn't just learn, it evolves itself. What would that even look like? And are we already catching glimpses of it? Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really digging into something fascinating. AlphaEvolve, this newly revealed AI system from DeepMind, from Google.
Yeah, this feels like a pretty significant moment, and we're basing our discussion today on a really interesting article. It's called Self-Improving AI in 2025. The Singularity is Even Closer. It's written by Jay Kuhl, who's a futurist, and 7AI, an ethical researcher from houseof7.org. They give us a really thought-provoking way to look at all this.
Absolutely. So our mission really for this deep dive is pretty straightforward. We want to unpack what AlphaEvolve signifies, like right now. What does its existence actually tell you about how fast AI is moving, especially this idea of recursive self-improvement, AI getting better on its own?
Okay, so the article kicks off by sort of setting the scene, right? Looking at Google's AI efforts. And it mentions that there was a time when Gemini, their model, didn't quite get the same buzz as, say, OpenAI's GPT stuff.
No, that's a fair point about the initial public reaction the article notes. Gemini had a bit of a lukewarm reception at first. There was this feeling maybe that Google, despite all their history in AI, had kind of missed the mark this time around, right?
But here's where it gets really interesting. The article brings up this analyst, Wes Roth.
Yeah, and Roth suggests Google might have actually been using AlphaEvolve internally for nearly a year before they even announced it.
Almost a year. Okay, yeah, that really reframes the whole narrative, doesn't it?
It does. If you think about that possibility, well, it could absolutely explain the jump we saw in Gemini's performance later on, from being okay to suddenly looking state-of-the-art. The article calls AlphaEvolve a quiet breakthrough, which I think captures it perfectly, like something big was happening behind the scenes.
Exactly, the engine driving those improvements. So, okay, let's get into it. What is AlphaEvolve exactly?
The article describes it as a Gemini-powered coding agent, which, sounds pretty advanced already.
Oh, it is. Think of it like this. It's an AI that uses Gemini's smarts, its understanding of language and code, to go off and discover new, better algorithms all by itself. And what's really key here is how it builds on their previous work, like AlphaZero for games or AlphaDev for optimization, right? AlphaZero mastered Go, AlphaDev optimized code.
Yeah, but AlphaEvolve seems different. The article emphasizes it's not just optimizing existing things or learning rules. It's actually writing totally new code. It's like it's creating new paths for intelligence to grow by playing with the code itself. That feels like a qualitative leap.
Yeah, definitely more than just making things faster. It's creating new ways.
Exactly. And the article gives some pretty concrete examples, like apparently it found ways to do matrix multiplication more efficiently, even better than the famous Strassen algorithm. And matrix multiplication, for anyone listening who doesn't live and breathe this stuff, it's fundamental to so much computing, so even a tiny improvement there could be huge.
Like finding a slightly faster route that thousands of delivery trucks use every single day.
That's a perfect analogy, yeah. And it's not just theoretical stuff either. The article says AlphaEvolve found better optimization techniques for things like scheduling in data centers and even chip design. These are, massive real-world problems.
Wow, okay, so practical impact, too.
Definitely. And maybe the most striking thing, it's apparently tackled some open mathematical problems, unsolved questions. And it came up with solutions that were either competitive with what human mathematicians found or sometimes even better. Better than human in some cases.
Yeah, that really shows its potential for, genuine discovery, not just making things better.
Okay, that makes sense then, this tonal shift the article talks about. It wasn't just benchmarks improving for Gemini, it was how people felt using it. It went from seeming, underwhelming, as the article puts it, to showing clearer reasoning, being faster, or giving deeper answers.
Yeah, and that shift in user perception is really important. It signals that this probably wasn't just another minor update. The idea that AlphaEvolve was working beneath the surface, as the article suggests. provides a really compelling reason for that more fundamental change.
It wasn't just a paint job. The engine underneath was upgraded.
Yeah, I like the article's analogy for this. It wasn't that Google dropped the ball. It's more like they dropped the mask, revealing something much more powerful that had been developing quietly.
Okay, so let's zoom out. Big picture time. Why is AlphaEvolve such a big deal in the grand scheme of things?
Well, if you connect the dots, AlphaEvolve looks like a really concrete step towards recursive self-improvement, which is, that core idea often discussed in relation to the technological singularity, the point where AI can improve itself, potentially faster and faster.
Yeah, the runaway effect, exactly, leading to changes we can't easily predict.
So the fact that we now have AI agents like AlphaEvolve, they can self-improve, and they're not just lab experiments, they're being used in real infrastructure used to develop other AI. That feels significant, like crossing some kind of line.
It really does feel like a watershed moment. The article points this out too, how it blurs the line between AI training, where humans are feeding it data and guiding it, and AI emergence, where the system starts finding its own ways to get smarter, developing capabilities we didn't explicitly program in.
That gap seems to be closing, and the article makes another crucial point. If Google DeepMind can do this, you have to assume other major players, right? Other big AI labs are probably working on similar things, or they will be very soon. It suggests this might be happening more widely than we realize.
Absolutely. It raises huge questions about the real pace of AI development globally, doesn't it? The article really frames AlphaEvolve not just as another cool tech development, but as a genuine threshold, a key point on the path towards potentially AGI, artificial general intelligence. And it suggests we might be moving along that path faster than maybe a lot of people thought.
That's certainly the implication. The article also teases what's coming next in their analysis, mentioning China's AlphaZero paper, something about zero-shot recursive reasoning.
Yes, it hints at a broader picture, a global picture where different groups are pushing this boundary of self-improving AI in the wild. It sounds like they see these developments, AlphaEvolve and AlphaZero, as creating a kind of map of self-improving AI in the wild. It's not just one company, it's becoming an ecosystem.
Okay, so wrapping this up then, our deep dive today suggests AlphaEvolve isn't just, another model upgrade. It looks like a pretty significant step towards AI that can genuinely improve itself. And it maybe implies the whole field is further along than we might think from the outside looking in. The implications could be, huge.
I think that's a very accurate takeaway. The quiet breakthrough aspect, the subsequent reveal, it does point to a potentially more advanced state of play than was publicly perceived, right? So here's a final thought for you, for listening to chew on. If AI can now autonomously improve its own intelligence, what does that actually mean? What does it mean for innovation, for solving the world's big problems, maybe even for how we understand intelligence itself? Is this the threshold moment the article talks about? And if it is, what comes next?